All right, so it should be recording. I'm going to share the screen. So our guest speaker for today is Ms. Shawn McGeth. She is an HUD certified housing financial advisor. She joined the Arundel Community of Development Services in 2016 and brings over 15 years experience in the housing industry. She is a certified housing counselor in homeownership and foreclosure prevention, is responsible for managing the various corporations programs such as homeownership counseling, foreclosure prevention, financial literacy, mortgage assistance, and property rehabilitation. Her career includes working for the Federal Reserve Bank here in Philadelphia, the State Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, Temple University Beasley School of Law, and manager of the housing department at the Partnership CDC, which is a nonprofit organization, for 12 years. She has since held positions in both the public and private sector. Her main mission and goal is to counsel people on financial literacy, benefits of homeownership, and to assist in foreclosure intervention. Shawn has a national certification as a foreclosure intervention specialist, a certified financial coach with NeighborWorks of America, and a comprehensive housing specialist with Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. In the future, Shawn hopes to continue to educate on financial literacy and advocate issues pertaining to housing and financial literacy matters. So I'm going to present her presentation. And then Ms. McGeth, if you want to go ahead and take it away from here.
Okay, well, thank you, Isabel, for having us, or having me. And anyhow, I appreciate you guys' patience. I just had a hiccup with the computer, but you know what? All is well. We want to press through, and we're going to get through the presentation. Like Isabel said, I am actually a HUD-approved housing counselor, and today I'm coming to talk to you guys about how to become a homeowner, and some of the things that we're going to drill down on the presentation. I guess you can go to the next slide, if you will. Thank you, Isabel. As know when you're ready, saving for home ownership, working with the lender, shopping for a real estate agent when you make the offer, and getting ready to close on your loan, and then welcome to home ownership. So when do you know when you're ready to become a homeowner? Well, that is an individual situation, if you will. So it's going to be individual for each and everyone. I can just tell you, for me, when I purchased my first home, I got to the point where I'm tired of renting. I want to own something. So the first thing I had to do was, the first thing you need to do is pull your credit, see what's going on with your credit, see if what your profile says that you're ready to present to a lender, because the credit and income they go hand in hand. And that is the first task that you would want to do when you're ready to make that transition from either from your parents' home or from a rental unit to your own home, whichever you coming out of. So I always tell her, when I'm working with the individual, I always say, okay, let's look at your credit. Let's see what's going on with your credit. The ideal score, and let me just put a plug in here. A lender for the home will look at your credit much different from you purchasing a car. They're looking at your credit scores. They're looking at your history too. And they want to see how well you're paying your bills, and how much debt you're carrying, because your debt will definitely play a big part on your affordability. So that's what the lender looks at, and that's what I go over with when I'm meeting with the individual one-on-one. So let's say your credit scores need to be somewhere around 640 and above. For a FHA mortgage, it can be like a 585, but then you're what they call a high risk. So your interest rate is going to be a little higher when your scores are, and that's the lowest that they will look at to get you approved for a loan. But the higher your scores, the better your interest rate will be. And the lender will look at the scores to make sure that you're what they call credit ready to transition. Also, they will look at your income. They want to see what kind of income you have coming into the household. They want to make sure that it's affordable for you, as well as what else is going on in your other financial obligations, because that will tie into. And the one thing that they don't tend to look at, the things that don't show up on your credit report. Sometimes won't, things that won't show up on your credit report when you go get gas for your car. You need transportation, right? So gas bill could be about $40 to $60 a week. That don't show up on your credit report, but we know that that's a bill that we're going to have to pay every month, once a week or on a monthly, whatever, however you gas up your car or put towards, to gas the car up. So some things that won't appear on your credit report, those are things that they won't see. But you as the potential buyer, you need to know what's going on in your financial world. Okay. So, and the other thing, after they finish looking at your income and your credit, now you're ready to before I jump there, they want to look at your savings. How much you think you have to have saved in order to make that transition. I always tell people you definitely want to have at least a good 2,500 to even, that's like for FHA mortgage, they say for you have to have 3.5% of your own money into the deal. Now that don't encapsulate the other fees that's going to be associated with this transaction. So I always tell people you definitely want to at least have a good like 2,500 saved. And then there's other perks that can come in that can help you. But it could be, if you don't have those other perks like grants, or like we have a MAP loan that will help people. We give up to 20,000. So some counties they offer various programs. But if you don't have that good 20% rule of down payment towards your purchase of the house, then you're going to have to come up with 20%. So if the house is 100,000, you got to come up with 20% of 100,000. So I always tell people, always start working on your savings. Try to have as much saved as possible. It cannot hurt. And once you determine, that you have your savings and your credit's good, now you want to start working with the lender. How do you find a lender? There's various ways that you can find a lender. You have your traditional banks. That's like your Wells Fargo, M&T banks, your traditional banks, if you will. Then you have your credit unions. You can go to a credit union. And then you have the what we call the brokers. A broker is someone or an entity that they will shop your loan out to see who will pick your loan up, and the investors out there that will pick your loan up and will cover you for the loan. But sometimes with the brokers, they tend to be a really more costly than you would your traditional banks or your lenders, or your credit unions, I'm sorry. I always tell people, start with your bank. That's the first place you want to start. You can actually shop for a lender all within a 30-day window, and it won't give you a harsh ding against your credit scores, because once they pull your credit, you will get dinged on your scores. The rule of thumb is try to shop for 3 to 4 lenders all within a 30-day window. And I have like a comparison chart that, compares apples to apples, orange to oranges, some of the questions that you will drill down on and ask the lender, because they all have fees. Their fees vary from one to the other. Some lenders have perks for first-time home buyers, but the one thing that you have to do, the one thing I would encourage you to do, not have to do, the one thing I would encourage you to do is do it all within a 30-day window. Don't do one this week and then wait, the next month and do another one. That's bad, because that will lower your credit scores. Okay. Also, once you get your pre-approval from the lender, now you're ready to shop, because the lender will give you a pre-qualified or pre-approval. And the difference between the two, pre-qualified, is that you call the lender and you say, hey, Joe, calling around, I want to get, a temperament, I'm looking for a loan, a mortgage loan. And Joe's going to ask you a couple of questions, and then he's going to run you through what they call the desktop underwriter. And the desktop underwriter is going to come out and say, oh, yeah, they qualify. We can give them a loan for X amount of dollars at X amount of interest rate. Now, this is not all set in stone, because you have to go from a pre-qual to a pre-approval. Now you have to send in documentation. They will ask for documentation like your bank statements, your income, at least 30 days of bank statement, 30 days of income, your tax returns, they will verify your employment. They will send what they call VOE, a verified employment letter, to your employer. So now they're going to do what I call a backdrop. They're going to now do investigation to make sure everything that you tell them all mirrors up to what you told them verbally. And then you'll get what we call a pre-approval. Most realtors will want you to have a pre-approval before they start showing you any houses. And that just takes us right into shopping for a home with a real estate agent. You are in the driver's seat of this whole process, because without you, the lender don't get paid. Without you, the realtor don't get paid. And a couple of other parties that will be in this transaction don't get paid. So you are the driver. You are you are the boss. You're steering this whole ship pretty much. So the realtor is going to ask you, okay, you have a pre-approval or pre-qual? You say, okay, I have my pre-approval. They're going to say, okay, well, pass it over. Let me see it. Then you will drill down on the area where you want to live in. You want to give them an idea of what you're looking for, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, whatever it is, what's your amenities, how many bathrooms you want. You want to pass this information over to the realtor, because the realtor has what we call a database that only a realtor can get into. And this is all the listings of all the houses that are for sale in any particular area down here in Maryland. If they're and they will pull based on your criteria, the things that you share with the realtor that you're looking for in the house. They will pull what we call listings, and they will get back with you, or either send them to your email, however they're going to do it, and say, here's a couple of places, let me know if you want to see them. And then they will set up the showings for you. Sometimes the realtor will accompany you at the showings, and sometimes they may not. But when I used to do because I was a realtor back in my day, and when I would show homes, I will always accompany my clients, because I want to go through the home, because sometimes chances are I may not have been through that home. So I may not know what's going on in that property as well. But I always make sure I'm available to show them the property, because any questions that may arise, that I want to be able to give them, to answer them for them. But you are, and I always tell people, how you shop for a realtor pretty much is the same way you would shop for a lender. Ask some friends, who was the agent that they worked with that just purchased a home. Ask your lender, because sometimes your lender may have realtors that they also work with. There's a realtor database that the Board of Realtors, you can go on their website. They have a list of realtors that you can choose from too. So you have to make sure you feel comfortable and cozy working with this person, because they're going to help you with this process as well. And that drives us right into making an offer. So now you found the house that you really love, and you want to, put an offer on the home. I will say this, the way the market has been going since the pandemic, it has been a seller's market. I have had one guy just recently, like maybe last week, week before last, because I'm also helping people doing staying in their properties with rental assistance. And this gentleman was renting a house to a potential tenant that I was trying to help them pay their rent. And he said that he wants to sell the property, and so I said, okay, well, why? You have a tenant in there, we're paying her rent, we're bringing her current, and blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, because right now the market is so hot, I want to sell it to buy myself a boat. So that just goes to tell me, that definitely clearly tells me that right now the market is so hot where sellers are, because the interest rate is so low, sellers are, jumping out there and they want to sell their home, and they can get, people come in with hefty offers on a lot of these properties. Another person told me that a realtor, they were working with a client and somebody overbid like 30,000 over what the sell price is asking for. So that's just how crazy the market is for the sellers right now. It's a bad thing for the buyers, because the buyers, are getting bid out all over the places. And especially you got investors that's coming from, from New York or California, who's buying up properties because the interest rate is so dirtly, it's just crazy right now. So I always tell people to make your, for a first time home buyer, you can put your best foot forward, of course. But just know that right now, just the temperament of the market, you may get outbid. And I've been hearing quite a few from other potential buyers saying that, I done lost another offer, And some just say, I'm just going to wait and just, not look right now. Maybe I'll resume next year. But I always tell first time home buyer that this is your first home. And yes, you want to make sure that you get all the perks, because even if the homeowner that's selling it is not going to entertain a property, not going to entertain an offer if it comes with all kinds of contingencies. And contingencies could be, you want a 60-day closing instead of a 30-day closing. You want a home inspection. They don't want to, they'll say, okay, yeah, you can have a home inspection, but we're not going to fix anything if ever, what comes up on the report. They may not offer a home warranty, So these are some of the perks that the first time home buyer gets. It is not guaranteed, but I always tell people, ask for the home warranty. Yes, you want a home inspection because you don't want to walk into a property. It looks good and pretty with, nice paint on the walls, nice, fixtures here and there. But after you're in there like a month or two, there's been, some kind of issues with, maybe a structural issue or something. So you definitely want to have a home inspection to protect your interest, going into the property. So now you're ready to, to close on the home. So now that's when the lender comes back around and the realtor circles back around. The lender's going to say, you're going to tell the lender, okay, this is the home, this is what I want to purchase. So the lender is now going to drill down on all your numbers to make sure that what you need to bring to the closing table, what you need to bring to close on the loan. They will give you what we call the final numbers. And your realtor will go over the numbers with you, or either your lender. Most times it's going to be the lender, and let you know how much you need to bring to the table. And normally you will give a good faith deposit initially when you take the house off the market. That money will come back to you at closing. And any kind of, if the homeowner is giving you like a home warranty, any kind of warranties that's coming with the home, that's when you get all that paperwork at the closing. So most of the times the closing will take place at the real estate office. Very rarely does it take place at a lender's office. And then you're ready and you sign your documents and your keys in hand. but I always tell people, make sure you definitely have to, in between the closing and the offer on the home, you will have what we call a last day walkthrough to make sure that you and the realtor go back through their property to make sure that what you purchasing is what you seen initially in the beginning. I have went to a closing where the day before we did a walkthrough, and the guy took there was a very nice fixture ceiling fan in the dining room, and he took the homeowner, removed it and replaced it with something else, but that wasn't what we initially seen when we first walked through. So that kind of like held up the settlement, because we were asking, what we seen initially, what we put in the contract, he should not have taken anything out and replacing it without coming back to us and making mention that, he was planning on taking it with him. So that's why it's important to go through, do your walkthrough before you go to the settlement table. And after that, you get your keys and it's welcome to home ownership. So do I have any questions for anybody have any questions for me?
If nobody has any, I have some in the chat that I've seen. So one question is, what % of your income should your monthly mortgage be?
Really about 30%. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Another question is, what is a good credit range for purchasing a home in Maryland or in general?
Credit score range is going to be, I tell people 8s is good, is awesome. I've never ran anyone that had a credit score of 8s, but 640, 650 and above is good.
Okay, that's all the questions I have
I have
that
a
I've seen so
question.
far. Oh, okay, go ahead.
How did you sort of get involved with this education of homeownership?
Doing real estate. When I was my first year when I became a realtor, I realized that a lot of people, when they would get their income tax, they would say, oh, I'm ready to buy a home, not knowing what all goes into purchasing a home. And I felt that education was more important than just being a realtor, if you will, because it was just such a disconnect from, I'm waking up one morning and say, okay, I want to buy a home because now I have all this, I got this money from my, my income tax. And then they realize that, well, wait a minute, you can't do this because of credit issues. So that's what kind of pushed me more into the education component, more than the realtor part of my process, if you will.
One more that I got in the chat is, what do you think are the ramifications of investors purchasing up homes and pushing homeowners out of the market?
I think it's awful. Me personally, I think it's awful. You know what? I think in when it comes to a lot of times with regentrification, I think that's what you were going at. A lot of the old homeowners who have, aged in place in their homes, a lot of times it's being pushed out of their homes with really nowhere to go. And most want to stay in their home for, for the last days. But because of regentrification, and I get it in one sense, that you're bringing, more resources to the community, you're bringing in more revenue into the community, but you shouldn't push the old homeowners out. If anything, you should, also include them into this regentrification. Then what happens is that once you start displacing people, then it becomes I guess for me, and this is just me personally, it starts spiraling down other things, mental, physical, then it becomes health issues. So when you start displacing people, especially of older age, they it just it takes on a whole different animal. And then I would say some of the younger generation who homes was left to some younger people generations. A lot of times they don't understand what they're sitting on because that's a good investment for you. That can help you, because if you have so much equity in the property, you can, strategically do things with that equity that take you to another level in your life too as well. So I've seen people, and I'm originally from Philly. So in this one section where a lot of the homeowners were, had passed on and left the property to their kids. And, you get an investor that come through and say, okay, I'll give you 40 or 50,000 for this property. To them, it was like, wow, look at all this money. But I'm trying to, no, that's not a lot of money, because with that 40 or 50,000, where are you going to go? You're not going to be able to purchase anything with that type of money. And then you're going from, maybe only paying utility bills and real estate taxes and homeowners insurance. Now you're looking to pay, you're going into a rental, that's something that's going to increase every year. Whereas with the staying in the home, that rate is pretty much fixed for the term of the as long as you're there. So that's just my personal take on it. I get it from one end, but I don't really feel warm and fuzzy about it on the other
I have one more in the chat. What are some common mistakes people make when purchasing a home?
Not linking up with a certified HUD housing counseling agency. I think just coming to an agency that works in that capacity can help you understand all the players that you're going to be working with and how all this gel together. A lot of times people will go out and they will call us and say, oh, I'm getting ready to go to closing. I may need a couple of, the lender told me I only needed $1,500. Now they're saying I need another $3,500 and I'm short, I don't have the money. Well, because these are fees that you didn't quite understand that could arise on you. And without the knowledge, now you're in a pickle, because now where would you get the money? And the closing may be put on hold. So now everybody's being impacted by it. The buyer, the seller, the lender, everybody who has a part of this process. So I always tell people, go on your county website and just type in first-time home buyer. If you're not buying here in Anne Arundel County, if you're buying in, I don't know, Calvert County or wherever, go to their website, to the county's website, and just do some research and go get into a home ownership workshop to get fully educated. And then also, we also help you through that whole process. So we just don't just educate you and just leave and say, okay, you got your certificate by now. We're with you through the whole process until you purchase your home. And then that's one of the pitfalls. And then a lot of times, if you don't do a home inspection, is the realtor steering you into a different area that you don't want to be in. So some things that that the average Joe may not understand, and then they go ahead and they sign on the dotted line. What is your repercussion if you don't want this house? If you feel as though you're being forced with the home, and the agent is not being forthcoming, or the homeowner's not being forthcoming. So I always just say, just get educated, and find people who are in that business that can help you. And the only stake in the game that a housing counseling agency has is just to educate the potential buyer.
Another one we just got is, do you have any recommended realtors?
I don't. And that's the other thing with working with a home ownership agency, a housing counseling agency. We cannot recommend any because our contracts pretty much under HUD say that we can't steer you to a lender and we cannot steer you to a realtor and or an appraiser or a home inspector. I always tell people start with, you know, any friends or relatives that worked with a realtor, and also call the board of realtors because that they have a list of realtors. And for a first-time home buyer, you want to make sure you're working with, and this is my opinion only, you want to make sure that you're working with a buyer agent because they are exclusively working with you.
Okay, another one that I got is what are some options open to people who miss mortgage payments? How forgiving are banks when people miss a mortgage payment?
Call the lender as quickly as possible and try to do what we call a repayment plan with them. If you're only one payment behind, a lot of times they will just work that out where they'll take that payment, stretch it out over the next 6 to 9 months, and you just send in extra money with your regular mortgage payment. But if you're more, then you definitely, either way, you want to reach out to the lender and say, look, I'm having financial hardship right now, and I want to know what type of program I can be placed in, because FHA has what we call various programs that if you have an FHA mortgage, I should say, programs, you can do a repayment plan, you can do a modification, you can do a it's under loss mitigation plans. So it will be modification, forbearance, and repayment plan. And then sometimes if it's just, they may extend your loan out to 40 years, reduce your payment. So there's a lot of factors that they will look at. But if it's a conventional mortgage, they don't have as many programs, but they do have some programs to help people who's going through a financial hardship, I should say. So speak to your lender. Don't just not ignore it and do nothing, because it will just continue to grow and grow. And then when the lender when they hire an attorney, now you have other fees on top of that, those missed payments. So it will escalate very quickly on you. And then we also do foreclosure prevention. Most of your HUD approved agencies does foreclosure prevention. So you can definitely call our office.
Okay, I don't see any more in the chat. Does anybody else have any more questions for Ms. McGeth? I think that's all, I guess. Everybody, that was a lot of great questions and some great answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for the questions. But Isabel have our information. If anyone feel the need that they want to reach out individually, you can pass them my information, Isabel, and I'll be more than happy to. If I don't have the answer, I can try to definitely find it for them. Yeah,
definitely. If anybody wants her information, just private message me or email me or something, and I can send that over to you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, one other thing that we do offer here, a couple of other programs that, and I'm just throwing a little shameless plug in here. We do financial counseling. So we do credit counseling as well. And also for homeowners who live here in the Annapolis area, we have what we call a property rehab and repair program. So homeowners who may have issues with their homes, we have a program to help them with some of the work that they need to be done that needs to be done in their home. And then we do foreclosure prevention counseling.
Okay, great. Thank you. Nobody else? All right. If anybody else has any more questions, I will send you guys over her information, her email, and you guys can reach out with anything else. Thank you so much, Ms. McGeth, for coming. I think everybody learned a lot.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. I truly enjoyed it. And thank you guys for having us.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Okay. You guys have a good day.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye now.
Okay. Okay, so, oh, I forgot there's another slide on this. Anyway, I'm going to do our Kahoots. If any of you guys have any questions actually, or about her presentation, you can private message me now. Oh, screen sharing has stopped. Okay, I'm gonna present our Kahoot next. Let me see. Oh, I'm still recording. I forgot about that.